Is the government hiding crashed UFOs beneath Wright-Patterson Air Force Base in Dayton, Ohio?
I would say we probably retrieved dozens of crashed saucers.
Are there declassified government documents that prove that UFO wreckage was secretly flown to the base?
Reports claim anywhere from 14 to 16 bodies were recovered from the craft.
For the first time on television, exclusive stories from deep behind the secrecy.
I had a top secret SCI clearance.
I've never told this story on TV before.
Is there a conspiracy to hide UFO evidence at the highest levels of the U.S. government? Or is it all just a myth?
If you want to know the truth about UFOs, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base would be the place to go.
Join us as the UFO Files uncovers the facts behind the legend of Hangar 18. July 1947, Roswell, New Mexico. Wreckage of an unknown craft litters a field measuring almost a mile long and hundreds of yards wide. The U.S. Army sends trucks filled with soldiers to the location. Their mission, to secure and retrieve everything from the crash site. The military initially calls the craft a flying disc in a press release. The Army quickly recants the UFO story, and a press conference is scheduled in which the media is told that the wreckage is nothing more than a weather balloon. But according to many UFO researchers, at the same time that the press is distracted with supposedly fake debris, the actual Roswell wreckage and possibly other retrieved items are taken under military control. They are surreptitiously flown almost 1,500 miles away to a military base in Dayton, Ohio, named Wright Field. According to UFO legend, its precise destination is a hangar on the base, Hangar 18.
We know that stuff got shipped to Wright because of the testimony of the people who were involved in the shipments on both ends.
A declassified FBI document dated July 8, 1947, the same week as the Roswell crash, also provides ties to Wright Field.
The object found resembles a high-altitude weather balloon with a radar reflector. But that telephonic conversation between their office and Wright Field had not borne out this belief. Disc and balloon being transported to Wright Field by special plane for examination.
Soon after the Roswell debris arrives, the class of 1947 from the military's elite airman training facility, the prestigious Air War College, is flown to Wright Field to investigate. One of the officers on scene is a battle-tested hero of World War II, a fighter pilot whose reputation earns him the nickname Black Mac. But nothing would prepare Marion Magruder and his classmates for what they would witness at Wright Field. It would change their lives forever.
He saw metal that was very pliable, that you could wrinkle up in your hands, and then it would go right back into shape, and it was very light, and yet you couldn't tear it apart. He saw parts of wreckage of what were extraterrestrial craft. He saw bodies, and he also saw a living being. He said that it was childlike, very thin, with an oversized head, and long arms with 4 digits. My father referred to the fact that we killed it. I'm sure we did not do it on purpose, but they were experimenting, and obviously we did not know how to make this entity live. But this being did die, and the way he referred to it is, we killed him.
According to his son Mark, Lieutenant Colonel Magruder and his classmates are sworn to secrecy under threat of court-martial. Because of this, he keeps his secret for 50 years, even from his family. But in 1997, his health fading, Black Mac begins to open up to those closest to him.
I said, Dad, are you finally going to tell us what you know so that we will know? And at the time, he said it was an awesome secret to carry all of his life, to know that there were more than us on this earth, and to not be able to tell anybody. I've never told this story on TV before, and it's difficult to do it now because I want my father's legacy to be as honorable as his life was, and it's very important to me that you know that I'm telling you the truth as he absolutely knew it to be. He just needed to let us know, his children know, that we weren't alone.
Black Mac Magruder's story is not an isolated tale. In fact, for more than half a century, similar stories have surfaced about UFO wreckage, alien bodies, secret underground cryogenic chambers, and a mysterious hangar at the base. Wright Field would grow and be renamed Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, but questions about the base and its legendary Hangar 18 would remain.
Hangar 18 has always been a mystery at Patterson Air Force Base. If you want to know the truth about UFOs, about the craft, the debris, probably the records, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, in my estimation, would be the place to go.
If these claims are true, Wright-Patterson Air Force Base, one of the largest and most important in America's military, could be ground zero for recovered UFO material.
All the information I have from all my sources says it was shipped here, and the people who actually worked at Wright-Patterson, who actually wore a uniform here, said it was here. Wreckage, entire pieces of the craft and whole sections of the craft, bodies were brought in. In fact, bodies were brought in on a regular basis from a number of different crashes from Roswell on.
Not only was debris from many UFO crashes allegedly shipped to the base, but from the late 1940s until the end of the 1960s, all reports regarding UFOs were conducted at Wright-Patterson for the military's official UFO investigation, Project Blue Book. Wright-Patterson evolved into one of the most talked about bases in UFO lore. However, the Air Force's description of the base is much different.
Really what makes Wright-Patterson unique is we are, by and large, focused on tomorrow. What is tomorrow's Air Force going to look like? What kind of airplanes will we fly? What kind of weapons will be on those aircraft? What kind of technology will be in the cockpit? We have the Air Force Research Laboratory here. We buy all of the aircraft in the United States Air Force through the offices that are here. We are responsible for all of the flight tests, all of the science and technology. We're also responsible for all of the major intelligence that's done for air and space. Some of the research that goes on in technology may be classified because we're trying to protect the technology that we develop to make sure that we provide our soldiers and our airmen the best advantage.
Until the early 1990s, much of this scientifically advanced work was done by the Foreign Technology Division, or FTD, which many researchers believe is the key to understanding Wright-Patterson's role in UFO history.
The Foreign Technology Division was the Air Force unit that was responsible for scientific and technical intelligence as it applied to the air and space and missile capability of mainly the Soviet Union. They were there to prevent technological surprise. They were the experts in the bad guys' equipment.
Wright-Patterson has a history of duplicating Russian equipment, German equipment, and reverse engineering it. Why would they not do the same thing with extraterrestrial technology? And so there's no question in my mind that's exactly what we're doing.
Coming up, a second major UFO recovery and a second secret trip to Hangar 18.
He saw two bodies through the porthole slumped over.
March 25th, 1948, Aztec, New Mexico. What starts as a normal day for local oil workers turns into an encounter with the unknown. As they approach the western edge of the mesa, a large silver object grabs their attention.
When the oil workers got to the mesa, there was a disc approximately 100 feet in diameter.
Because the ship is found intact, it appears to be a landing as opposed to a crash.
The witnesses I talked to, both Ken Farley and Doug Nolan, young men at the time, would not enter the craft. Bill Ferguson, the foreman, more senior gentleman, was yelling at the workers to get away from it.
Except for a shattered porthole, there isn't any immediate sign of damage.
Doug Nolan reported to me he saw two bodies through the porthole slumped over.
Within hours, trucks arrived, supposedly from Camp Hale, Colorado. It appears the U.S. government has another UFO incident to contend with. Having learned from their mistakes at Roswell, the Army quickly takes control of the situation.
Roswell 9 months earlier had been sort of botched by putting it on the front page of many newspapers around the country. I think the military had really fine-tuned their skills on going in and retrieving a down-flying disc or UFO. The secrecy started immediately upon the military's arrival at the crash site. They separated the locals and reminded them of their patriotic duty for the United States and swore them to secrecy.
58 years ago, you were told to shut up for national security. You did it because you respected and trusted the government.
The military wanted that craft immediately, and they would do whatever it took to get it out of there.
According to the eyewitnesses, the Army recovers between 14 and 16 badly burned alien bodies from the craft. The recovery team reportedly brings both the ship and the alien corpses to a local safe house, away from the media.
Take it to the nearest military base where you can control access to it. And then you arrange to ship it to an appropriate place, depending on what you want done. But again, Wright-Patterson would be the eventual repository.
Because of the number of alien bodies at Aztec, it is considered one of the most significant UFO retrievals to date. But UFO researchers say there are many other cases tied to Wright Field. October 1947, Paradise Valley, Arizona. May 1953, Kingman, Arizona. June 1953, Laredo, Texas. And December 5th, 1965, Kecksburg, Pennsylvania, are only a few of the alleged flying saucer recoveries in the U.S. alone. No matter where a UFO lands, it seems all roads lead back to Wright-Patterson and Hangar 18.
Wright-Pat was kind of a graveyard for some of these things, and probably put them in a holding pattern until technology got to where they could look at them better.
But despite countless books and the public interest in UFOs, there was no official confirmation about alien aircraft at Hangar 18. Eventually, attention shifted away from Wright-Patterson. Interest was revived, however, in 1978, when UFO researcher Leonard Stringfield gave a speech at the annual Mutual UFO Network, or MUFON Symposium, coincidentally held in Dayton, Ohio, Wright-Patterson's home.
Len was doing things in this field that nobody else had done. He actually had developed a number of people that were leaking information to him. They were given testimony on things that they had seen.